Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of my video blog series. I am your host, Nick Renard, and today we are going to be talking about the three most important variables that you should be checking in on with any given remarketing campaign. And the idea for this blog came up because it's three things that I tell my technicians that if you are short on time or if you just want to do a quick check-in on an account, that these are kind of the three things that given a short amount of time to be checking in on these things, kind of the biggest hit things to make sure that it's still running, still working as intended, nothing's gonna tank, it's everything's still alive and well. Alright, so let's get started here. I have our campaign open, actually. We have a remarketing campaign that we run for our company, and I was going to use this as our example. And as a quick recap, just in case anyone is newer to remarketing, remarketing is a form of display advertising, and you can use text ads, but most people like to use image ads. They tend to be more effective from my experience. And you advertise those image ads to people who have been to your website before. And the idea behind that campaign is to entice those users who have been to your website to come back by having a cute little ad that, has your advertisement on there. So it's a list of users, of people who have been to your site that you're displaying image ads to, enticing them to come back and hopefully buy something or fill out a form or whatever you're trying to get people to do. The way that we set up remarketing campaigns, just kind of as a quick 101 here, I have our remarketing campaign up here. I'll go ahead and show all ad groups here. You can see that we have a bunch of paused ad groups. Whenever I create a set of images, I always make sure to have them in their own ad group, and we'll go over why that's important here in a second. So if you have one ad that's displaying for a certain product or service of yours, and then let's say you have another section of your business that you have another set of ads for, you want to make sure that you break those up into separate ad groups. And the reason is because we want to make sure that we're bidding separately on those different image ads. Even if you're doing an A/B split test on the same product, let's say you're using different ad copy, something like that, you want to make sure that they're broken up separately. And it's important because one of the first things that you want to check here is that the bid setting for whatever ad group you're doing. This is the number one thing of the three things that you want to check in on. Make sure that your bid setting is correct. I've seen a lot of people in the past who are changing bids at the at the ad level, or maybe the ad group level, or the campaign level, but their bid setting isn't is set to something else besides what they're changing. So even though they're trying to make bid changes in the account, bid more aggressively, less aggressively, they're actually not doing anything to the account. So if we click on our campaign, our remarketing campaign here, we click the display network tab, we click interest in remarketing because we're doing remarketing. I'll let that load here, and then click on the ad group. I'll click the only ad group we have running here. Click the ad group here, and here, this little drop down box right here, scroll down a little bit, is where you manage your bid setting. Now, I always choose to use default bids, which is going to use the ad group level bid. And the reason we do that is because each ad group is going to contain its own set of ads. So whether that ad is a 250 by 250 or a 1080 by 720 or whatever the dimensions are of the ad, it doesn't really matter because they have the same images, same ad copy. So we're essentially using the same ad. So that's why I use the same ad group level bid on any of the ads within that ad group, because they're all the same. If you check this setting and you see that it has enable custom bids or enable bid adjustments or something like that, one of these other settings, and you were changing the bid at the ad group level, then you're kind of falling into that trap of making changes that aren't actually affecting anything. So go ahead and change your bids to make sure it's on use default bids. So that way when we come back here to the ad group level, we can change the bids for any one of these ad groups. We could change this from $25 to $20 or $10 or $5, whatever we want to bid on our set of ads. We currently have a bid of $25. Our cost per click is much lower than that, but that's just because we want to make sure that we're showing as much as possible for these ads, and we don't really care what it costs. So yeah. So number one, always check your bid setting. Make sure that that when you are making adjustments in the account, that it's actually having an effect on the account. All right. The next thing here is to check your list. Again, the list of users that we're targeting, it's most likely going to be imported from Google Analytics. You can set up lists in AdWords, but that's, it's not right or wrong one way or the other. It's just a different way of doing it. If we want to check the list, it's a similar thing where we click on our campaign, click on the display network, and you can see that there's a column here for audiences. Now, this shows all the audiences within this campaign. If we want to drill down on the audience, because you may be using different audiences for different campaigns. For example, we've had clients who they have two different sections of their website, and we'll have one remarketing list that's set up for people who have been to one section of the website, and another remarketing list that's set up for users who have visited the other section of the website. So if you were a company that sold, let's say like an apparel company, and you have like a shoes section and a shirts section, you may want to advertise shoes or remarket shoes to people who have been to the shoes section, and you may want to remarket shirts to people who have been to the shirts section. Makes sense. So if we click on our ad group here, here's the audience that we're using for this ad group right there. I always open this in a new tab just so I don't lose my spot on that page. But if we click on that, it'll open up here. And scroll down. This is what we're checking right here, the list size. So you can see how the list has been growing or changing over time. I like to look at it from a larger perspective here. So you can see that we set up the lists in early February, and since then it's been going up and down. And what we're looking for here when we're checking the list is let's say you check this every 30 days. You want to make sure that your list is not tanking. It's not going towards zero. So let's say if this graph were flipped around and we saw that it was going towards zero, we would know that something was wrong with our tracking. Usually it's something simple, like a lot of the times we have web developers who make changes on a certain page and they accidentally drop the analytics code that's on the page that we're using to track the users who come to the site. So if you do see that your list is tanking, that's a sign that you need to make sure that your code is all correct, that that you get your list repopulated. Yeah, it's a red flag. In this case, really, if you're doing a quick check on a campaign just to make sure that things aren't falling off a cliff, this would be fine. The list hasn't changed in a long time. It's still running steady at roughly 1,000 users. So yeah, looks good. So that's the second thing that we want to check in on here. The last thing we want to check in on here is probably the most important variable that we use to determine, I don't want to say performance, but just kind of give us an idea of where our spend is at for any given campaign, and that is impression share. And you'll see I have it enabled here. You can see these columns for impression share. If you can't see these columns, click columns, drop down box here, and then click modify columns. Go to competitive metrics, and you can add your display impression share just by clicking these things over to the box and then hit apply, and there you go. There's your impression share. So what does impression share tell you? Impression share tells you how frequently your ads are showing on Google. So these ads over the last 30 days are showing 82% of the time that they could be showing. And there's two reasons that we may not be showing our ads. One of them is that we could be getting outranked, meaning that either our bid is too low, which probably isn't the case here, or our quality score is lower than somebody else's. So if somebody else, we have $25 bids on our remarketing campaign, so if someone else has a $25 bid, but their quality score is 9 out of 10 and ours is 8 out of 10, they're going to beat us in that auction. the bid thing is also the same. If we have a bid of $25 and somebody else has a bid of $10 and we have the same quality scores, then obviously we're going to beat them in that auction. So you can see here that if we wanted to, or I guess I should go over the other one. The other reason you can lose impression share is just to budget. This one's actually really simple. If you have a limited budget on your remarketing campaign, like let's say $20 a day, and let's say your cost per click is $5 on your remarketing campaign, well, as soon as you get 4 clicks, it's going to fulfill that maximum budget of $20 a day, so it's going to shut itself off for that day. So any click that happens, or could have, or any impression that could have happened after that time that it shut itself off, is considered to be lost to budget, because it's not going to show your ads anymore because you don't have any more money. So you're kind of missing out on that, that potential advertisement. So if you're losing impression share to budget, you just need to add more budget. If you're losing impression share to rank, you want to increase your bids. Now, we already checked our bid settings with the first step here. So in this case, if we wanted to be showing 100% of the time instead of 82% of the time, we would want to come in here and adjust the bid on our ad group from $25 to something like, something more aggressive, like $30. And that way we would start mitigating the impression share that we're losing to rank by bidding more aggressively on these keywords. Anyways, those are the 3 things that I wanted to review: how to check your bid settings, how to check your list and make sure that it hasn't tanked or anything hasn't gone crazy in the past 30 days. That's usually about how frequently I check these things, 30 days on these just kind of overview check-ins. And then the last thing would be impression share, and if you want to make adjustments based on your impression share, then you can feel free to do that because you've already changed your bid settings. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next week in my next video blog.